explosive,
explosive. Easily able or likely to explode. For example, an explosive device equals a bomb.
Extensively. In a way that covers a large area. For example, she has traveled extensively.
Fabric. Material made by weaving wool, cotton, silk, etc., used for making clothes, curtains, etc., and for covering furniture. For example, they sell a wide variety of printed cotton fabric. Fact. A thing that is known to be true, especially when it can be proved. For example, fact about something.
Factor.
Factor. One of several things that cause or influence something. For example, obesity is a major risk factor for heart disease.
Fantasy.
Fantasy. A pleasant situation that you imagine but that is unlikely to happen. For example, he spoke of his childhood fantasies about becoming a famous football player.
Fashion.
Fashion. A popular style of clothes, hair, etc. at a particular time or place, the state of being popular. For example, the latest fashion trends.
Fashionable. Following a style that is popular at a particular time. For example, fashionable clothes/ideas/styles. Fault. The responsibility for something wrong that has happened or been done. For example, why should I say sorry when it's not my fault? Favorite. Liked more than others of the same kind. For example, it's one of my favorite movies. Feminist. Having or based on the belief that women should have the same rights and opportunities as men. For example, feminist demands or ideas or theories. Feminist. Having or based on the belief that women should have the same rights and opportunities as men. For example, feminist demands or ideas or theories.
Fiction.
Fiction. A type of literature that describes imaginary people and events, not real ones. For example, a work of popular fiction.
First. Happening or coming before all other similar things or people, first. For example, her first husband.
Flood.
Flood. If a place floods or something floods it, it becomes filled or covered with water. For example, the cellar floods whenever it rains heavily.
Fluid. A liquid, a substance that can flow. For example, body fluids equals for example.
Fool. A person who you think behaves or speaks in a way that lacks intelligence or good judgment. For example, don't be such a fool.
Forecast. A statement about what will happen in the future, based on information that is available now. For example, the sales forecasts are encouraging. Forecast. A statement about what will happen in the future, based on information that is available now. For example, the sales forecasts are encouraging.
foreign,
Foreign. In or from a country that is not your own. For example, what foreign languages do you speak?
Forge. To put a lot of effort into making something successful or strong so that it will last. For example, to move to forge new links between management and workers.
Formula.
Formula. a series of letters, numbers, or symbols that represent a rule or law. For example, this formula is used to calculate the area of a circle.
Forward. Directed or moving towards the front. For example, the door opened.
Foundation. A principle, an idea, or a fact that something is based on and that it grows from. For example, respect and friendship provide a solid foundation for marriage.
Frankly. In an honest and direct way that people might not like. For example, he spoke frankly about the ordeal.
Freedom.
Freedom. The power or right to do or say what you want without anyone stopping you. For example, to defend or protect academic freedom.
Fulfill.
Fulfill. To do or achieve what was hoped for or expected. For example, to fulfill your dream, ambition, potential.
Fundamentally.
Fundamentally. In every way that is important, completely. For example, the two approaches are fundamentally different. Furthermore. In addition to what has just been stated. Furthermore is used especially to add a point to an argument. For example, he said he had not discussed the matter with her. Furthermore.
Future.
Future. Taking place or existing at a time after the present. For example, the land will remain untouched for future generations to enjoy. Good. Of high quality or an acceptable standard. For example, the good book.
Goods.
Goods. Things that are produced to be sold. For example, to produce/buy sell goods. Group. A number of people or things that are together in the same place or that are connected in some way. For example, group of somebody/something.
Guarantee.
Guarantee. To promise to do something, to promise something will happen. For example, guarantee something.
Guideline.
Guideline. A set of rules or instructions that are given by an official organization telling you how to do something, especially something difficult. For example, the government has drawn up guidelines for schools during the pandemic. Gun. A weapon that is used for firing bullets or shells. For example, I have never fired a gun in my life.
Habit.
Habit. A thing that you do often and almost without thinking, especially something that is hard to stop doing. For example, you need to change your eating habits.
Haunt. If the ghost of a dead person haunts a place, people say that they have seen it there. For example, a headless rider haunts the country lanes.
Hazard. Something that can be dangerous or cause damage. For example, a fire/safety hazard.
Hidden.
Hidden. Something that is hidden is kept or located in a place where it cannot be seen. For example, hidden dangers lurk in the ocean depths.
High. The highest level or number. For example, to hit reach a high.
Highlight.
Highlight. To emphasize something, especially so that people give it more attention. For example, the report highlighted the importance of exercise to maintain a healthy body.
History. All the events that happened in the past. For example, in history.
Hope. To want something to happen and think that it is possible. For example, all we can do now is wait and hope. hopeful. Believing that something you want will happen. For example, hopeful that.
Hopefully. Used to express what you hope will happen. For example, hopefully.
Horrible.
Horrible. Very bad or unpleasant, used to describe something that you do not like. For example, what horrible weather.
How? In what way or manner? For example, how does it work?
However.
However. Used to introduce a statement that contrasts with something that has just been said. For example, he was feeling bad. He went to work.
Humanitarian. Connected with helping people who are suffering and improving the conditions that they are living in. For example, to provide humanitarian aid to the war zone.
Humor.
Humor. The quality in something that makes it funny, the ability to laugh at things that are funny. For example, it was a story full of gentle humor.
Hypothesis. An idea or explanation of something that is based on a few known facts, but that has not yet been proved to be true or correct. For example, to formulate/confirm a hypothesis.
Ice. Water that has frozen and become solid. For example, there was ice on the windows.
Ideal.
Ideal. Perfect, most suitable. For example, an ideal location place.
Ideology.
Ideology. A set of ideas that an economic or political system is based on. For example, Marxist capitalist ideology.
If. Used to say that one thing can, will or might happen or be true, depending on another thing happening or being true. For example, if you see him.
Imagine. To form a picture in your mind of what something might be like. For example, imagine something.
Imply. To suggest that something is true or that you feel or think something, without saying so directly. For example, imply that.
Import.
Import. To bring a product, a service, an idea, etc. into one country from another. For example, import something.
Impossible. That cannot exist or be done, not possible. For example, almost a virtually or nearly impossible.